We've played a lot of cricket this summer, at home on pretty hard, fast decks. I think at the WPL, the wickets were very much conducive to T20 cricket, so they were pretty flat most of the time. It's been a real change of pace.
Test match on the MCG, is that a bucket list item?
Hey, Scotty. Look, certainly an amazing opportunity for the team to play at such an iconic Australian cricket venue. And in such a big occasion like an Ashes series. I think, we all saw that fixture and thought what an amazing opportunity and how much possibility that also carries in terms of what it could do for the game.
Is it sort of where, obviously there's a T20 at the SCG as well, you're playing Adelaide Oval for the second straight year. Is this sort of where you hope that, where the game is tracking in the next 5-10 years' time, these become regular things rather than headline moments?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's the aspiration for everyone involved, is to start to regularly play at the best stadiums around the country, and most importantly have really good crowds attend those matches. I think that's the next evolution for women's cricket, but more globally as well for women's sport. We're starting to see that happen more and more often across the board. So it's a really exciting time for everyone.
I can go one more, Ellyse. I remember when the T20 World Cup final was announced for the MCG 4 years in advance or something. Straight away the statement was to break a record and to sell out the MCG. What do you realistically hope for, and what do you think is possible crowd-wise for day one against England at the MCG?
I'd be hesitant to put a number on it at this stage, but I think it's really, really cool that there is so much support around this fixture, and also a very clear intention to put a lot of time and effort into marketing it, to making sure that we've got a really good crowd there, not just for the first day, but I think for all 4 days. And that presents such an amazing opportunity. I know that the Victorian government are very much behind it, as is the MCC and obviously Cricket Australia. So I think, with those 3 organisations backing the test, there's a huge possibility to have a really good crowd for the 4 days.
Thanks, Bez.
Unfortunately, you were injured during the T20 World Cup there a few years ago, so you didn't get the opportunity to sort of play there. Have you played there on the MCG for Australia before?
I have. Not for some time, but I definitely have.
Yeah. What's it like?
It's an amazing ground. It carries so much history for Australian sport, and obviously cricket is a big part of that. I think. To be talking about playing on the MCG in an Ashes Test match, in a calendar year is pretty exciting for us. I don't think that's really popped up or been on the horizon for a number of years. So, I think all the girls are really looking forward to that. It's a phenomenal ground. It's so grand in so many respects, and as you mentioned, we've got a great history with it recently with the T20 World Cup and 86,000 people coming to that final. So, it'd be nice to get back there.
So, if you go back through history, I don't think England have won a test in Australia for about 12 or 13 years. So are you guys going to do the right thing?
I think I might have played in that test match that they won actually in Barrel some time ago, I think back in 2008. So look, there's been amazing history between the two teams. We've had some incredible series in the last little bit, none more so than the most recent one over in the UK, which I think was so hotly contested, obviously with the test match going our way, and then England claiming the 2 white ball series in amongst that. So I think we expect a really, really tough challenge. I think with the test match being at the end of the series as well, it could be really important in terms of a team needing to push for a victory to secure the Ashes. So look, I'd love to say that we'll do the right thing, but I think it's going to be a great challenge for us.
Thanks.
Thanks, Mel. Alex, do you want to jump in?
Thanks, Lucy. Hi, Ellyse. You were there at the junction, I think, when the 1973 team had the 50-year anniversary last year. Does the team know much about the very first women's test team, and will there be anything in the pipeline for you guys with the 90th anniversary? Obviously, there won't be any members there, but there might be family members and past players and things like that. Is that something you guys would like to see?
It's definitely something that as a team we're really invested in terms of firstly recognising and also understanding the history of the game. And it was really lovely having having everyone there at the Junction Oval during our series against the West Indies. We've got a lot of personal attachments to various players. Like Mark Jennings, who was a part of that team, was the first Australian selector that selected me in my first tour. So I think things like that are so important in terms of connection throughout women's cricket. We mentioned the T20 World Cup final back in 2020. I think there was so many people connected to the women's cricket family of that final who very much felt a part of it as well, just being there and taking it in. So I know there's some plans now that this fixture's been scheduled to do those things, especially celebrate the 90 years. I think that'll be planned as we go along.
Just a couple cricket questions. Have you got any thoughts on 4-day v 5-day tests? I know you guys play an up-tempo brand. Does it bother you? Have you got any preference?
I think my thoughts on that is that we probably need to do some more like quantifiable work on what is most effective for the women's game. I've got a really small sample size of one 5-day test match, and we managed to get a result in that. So I suppose my bias skews towards that, having played a number of 4-day games where we haven't got results. But I mean, it's so contextual to the venue that you play at, your opposition as well, and just various other conditions. But I think going forward, this is going to be a question that keeps popping up until we're able to really ascertain what is most effective for women's test matches. And I think, we've got to figure out a way to quantify that going forward, and I'm sure there's some work in place to do that.
Have you got a thought on how to quantify it?
Well, I think we're probably going to have to play some more 5-day games to figure that out, and what level that's at, I'm not sure. As I said, there's sort of various factors that go into that. For boards to consider, timings, venues, etc. So, and also who's willing to play test matches. It seems like there's been a bit more of an uptake of that in the women's landscape, but that's an evolving piece as well. So, probably people far smarter than me have got good ways to understand that. But I think certainly it's a piece that we probably need to work on, given that I think the more test cricket we play, the more this question is going to be asked.
And just one more on the tour you're playing on at the moment. It's been 10 years since you visited Bangladesh. How do you compare memories of batting on those surfaces in 2014 to now? And are there some early signs ahead of the World Cup later in the year about how you need to play?
Definitely a really different recollection to being here 10 years ago. We played the majority of our matches in Sylhet and just the final here in Dhaka. I certainly don't remember it being so conducive to spin and potentially as slow as the wickets have been here this time around. And it's hard to know exactly what will happen for the World Cup, but it's definitely been a really great opportunity for us as a team to come over here and experience it, not just the wickets and the way that the cricket's going, but just being on the ground here and how it's best to operate, and really enjoying the opportunity to see a country that we haven't toured a lot either.
Yeah, hi, you've partly touched on that. I was going to ask you about the World Cup coming up and what you've learned from this current tour, but more broadly, have you had a look at the broader, I suppose, summer schedule with some matches in Mackay in September and through to the ODIs against India in Brisbane and Perth? What do you make of the whole summer ahead?
Really exciting. I think every year we have a conversation about the schedule, and it just seems to be encompassing more and more cricket for us as a team, and importantly against a varied opposition. There's so many opportunities now for girls to play at the international level, and I think also with the amount of franchise cricket that's available too now, it's really cool to see just how many days of cricket there are scheduled on our calendar. It's nice that we're playing right around the country as well, so there's an opportunity for the team to be in front of fans wherever we go, I think everyone's really excited for so much home cricket this summer.
Thank you.
Thanks, Courtney. LJ, we'll wrap up with you.
Yeah, just continuing along a similar theme, looking at that schedule for the summer, there's pretty much only a couple of days in between series and World Cups, and it goes all the way through to March. Do you think there might come a time where there needs to be a bit more rotation through the squad or a bit more workload management, just given how much cricket's on the calendar now?
It's probably a fairly open-ended question, and one that I guess we're going to continue to discover as we go. I think the one thing I would say on that is that we're continuing to build like a tremendous depth across our domestic cricket and even within our squad at the moment. You just look at the change we made from the first ODI here to the second one with Soph coming in, and she performed straight away. But equally, the girls sitting on the sideline are so capable of performing and will whenever they get an opportunity. So I think it's probably more around that and making sure that we've got players that are ready to go whenever an opportunity pops up, be that because of injury or form or perhaps people need a rest or have personal reasons. So I guess that's the important thing. I don't think you can really blanket a policy of rotation and rest. There's so many factors that go into it, but I think, encouragingly, there's so much competition for spots in the group at the moment that, things will pop up at different times. I'm sure the team will change marginally from game to game.
And just looking ahead to that final ODI tomorrow, obviously you mentioned the spinners have been dominating. How's the batting group been feeling about how they've gone so far on some pretty tricky conditions? Yeah,
tricky is definitely the word we've used. I think it's been a great learning opportunity for us, especially, we've played a lot of cricket this summer, at home on pretty hard, fast decks. I think at the WPL, the wickets were very much conducive to T20 cricket, so they were pretty flat most of the time. It's been a real change of pace for the batters, and needing to adapt to that, I think, only helps you develop new skills and also, I guess, just being able to switch between mindsets as well, which is going to be really important looking ahead to the Ashes with a change of format so quickly. We won't have a chance to play a warm-up game, for the Test match or anything like that. So, some really great learnings from it.
Great, thanks for that.